From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day, this is Dateline Malacañang, and here are the news. On the top story, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. leads the 122nd Labor Day celebration that carries the theme sa Bagong Pilipinas, Manggagawang Pilipino, Kabalikat at Kasama sa Pag-asenso in a program at the Ceremonial Hall in Malacañang Palace on May 1. This year's Labor Day coincides with the golden anniversary celebration of the Labor Code of the Philippines through Presidential Decree number 442 signed by then President Ferdinand E. Marcos on May 1, 1974. A signed Memorandum of Understanding or MOU on the Workers' Rehabilitation Center or WRC site development plan is presented to the Chief Executive by Department of Labor and Employment or DOLE Secretary Bienvenido Laguesma. Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development or DHSUD Secretary Jose Rizalino Acuzar, Department of Public Works and Highways or DPWH Secretary Manuel Bonoan, Department of Environment and Natural Resources or DENR Secretary Maria Antonia U. Loloyzaga, Department of the Interior and Local Government or DILG Secretary Benjamin Abalos Jr., and Mayor Rafael Tanhuatco of Tanay Rizal. The 50-hectare Workers Rehabilitation Center will be constructed in Tanay Rizal to support the balik buhay manggagawa of employees who encountered work-related disabilities or injuries and assist them to recover so they can eventually return to their jobs or be able to work again. Funding will be sourced from the Employees Compensation Commission and its investment arms, the Social Security System or SSS, and Government Service Insurance System or GSIS. Apart from the program in Malacañang Palace, the Marcos administration prepared a lineup of activities to honor the country's hardworking labor force today. More than 200,000 job vacancies are available in the 95 simultaneous job fairs participated by over 2,400 employers across the nation. Filipino workers and consumers can access affordable products from almost 2,500 sellers and more than 1,000 enterprises in 92 Kadiwa ng Pangulo sites nationwide, the biggest conduct of Kadiwa to date. DOLE facilitated the payouts for its essential programs such as the Tulong Panghanap Buhay sa Ating Disadvantaged, Displaced Workers or TUPAD, Government Internship Program or GIP, and Special Program for Employment of Students or SPES. Awarding of livelihood projects worth over 671 million Philippine peso to 35,000 beneficiaries are also transpiring through the country, while the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority or TESDA set up booths in 70 sites nationwide for skills training in various industries. Furthermore, Filipino workers are given free rides in LRT2 and MRT1 on May 1, 2024 from 7 in the morning to 9 in the evening, and from 7 in the morning to 9 in the morning and from 5 in the evening to 7 in the evening. Let us listen to Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s speech at the 122nd Labor Day celebration.
Isang maligayang pagbati sa mga kapwa kong manggagawang Pilipino ngayong araw ng manggagawa. Ikinararangal ko na buksan ang bakuran ng Malacañang sa mga natatanging panauhing kumakatawan sa sektor ng manggagawa, kasama ang mga opisyal ng pamahalaan at mga development partners natin sa pangunguna ng International Labor Organization. Taus-puso ang aking pagkakaisa sa pagkikilala sa kontribusyon ng ating mga manggagawa. Hindi lamang sa pagpapanatili ng pagkakaisa at magandang samahan sa industriya, kung hindi rin, pati rin sa pagpapaunlad ng ating ekonomiya. Exactly 50 years ago, on these very same grounds, my father, then President Ferdinand Marcos Sr., signed the Labor Code of the Philippines in the presence of representatives of various sectors. The Labor Code, born out of the vision for development, employment, and social justice, has been one of the most enduring pieces of social legislation in the country. In his own words, I quote, I remember them vividly, growth will always be tempered by justice, and development will always be weighed by the dignity of man. Leading the celebration of its golden anniversary, the 122nd Labor Day, I proudly reaffirm the government's commitment to champion the rights of Filipino workers in pursuit of development and prosperity. Today, we stand in awe of the remarkable contributions of Filipino workers here in the country and also abroad. I offer them our gratitude and recognition as beacons of hope, as important pillars of our country's foundation. It has been their dedication and tireless pursuit of a better life for their loved ones which fuel the engine of progress in our nation. Gamit ang Philippine Development Plan bilang gabay, nagsusumikap ang pamahalaan upang mapabuti ang kalagayan ng mga manggagawa. Mapatatag ang ekonomiya, lumikha ang mga karagdagang trabaho at masugpo ang kahirapan sa bansa. My fellow workers, we aim not just for job growth, but for quality and green jobs that are aligned with our vision for a sustainable human capital-centered economy. The Labor and Employment Plan for 2023 to 2028, which I approved last August, supports these goals through strategies that achieve decent work for all and inclusive social protection. Last September, I also signed the Trabaho para sa Bayan Act to bolster our jobs creation efforts, which help address various challenges like jobs, skills, mismatch, underemployment, and youth employment. In addition, we shall also continue to invest in upskilling and reskilling our workers in partnership with the private sector. I have directed DOLE to prioritize addressing underemployment by promoting training in skills that the local and international labor markets need and ensure that there is placement for those who are going to be trained. Through the TESDA, more than 2 million Filipinos have graduated from technical and vocational training courses, and over 1 million have been certified since we came into office. We are very serious about enhancing the skills of all Filipino workers, marking them job-ready for the technical and digital jobs that will be opened through the investments that we have secured. In 2023 alone, our investment promotion agencies approved almost 1.7 trillion pesos in investments in various sectors. These investments are expected to create almost 108,000 jobs for our people in that year alone. Kasama po dito ang mga investors na nahikayat natin sa mga pagpupulong sa ibang bansa. Sa ngayon, 8 proyekto ang umaarangkada ang negosyo dito sa Pilipinas. Mayroon din 21 na negosyanteng nahikayat natin na ngayon ay nagpaparehistro na para makapagsimula ng pamumunuhan niya sa bansa. Sila ay kabilang sa halos 200 na proyekto na kasalukuyang inaabangan ng DTI na nakakahalagang 4 na trilyong piso. Ang ating Build Better More Infrastructure Program ay inaasahan din na magpapaigting at pag-angat sa ekonomiya. Kasunod dito ang pag-angat sa kalidad at kakayahan ng ating mga manggagawa. In this administration, we continue to prioritize the protection of our workers, guided by international labor standards as found in the International Labor Organization Convention. This is why in February of 2024, the Philippines deposited the instrument of ratification of the Violence and Harassment Convention number 190 with the ILO. And the Philippines became the 38th country in the world and the first in ASEAN to ratify Convention number 190. This affirms the fundamental right of individuals to a workplace that is free from violence and harassment. Dagdag pa rito, noong nakaraang taon, ating linagdaan ang Executive Order number 23 upang pagtibayin ang karapatan ng mga manggagawa na mag-organisa. Nitong nakaraang Biyernes ay naaprubahan na ang joint guidelines upang maitupad ito na maayos. Sa ating mga overseas Filipino workers, alam ko po na daman-daman ninyo ang pagkalingan ng Department of Migrant Workers sa ilalim na mapayapang Secretary Tuts Ople at ng bagong kalihim na si Hans Kakdak. Without a doubt, OFWs have had a significant role in our nation's prosperity. It exemplifies the best of what the Philippines can offer the world. We continue to assure our OFWs that within our bagong Pilipinas, this administration will never cease to provide protection, growth, and development for themselves and for their families. So on this Labor Day, I task the DMW with these simple but crucial objectives. First, strengthen protection of OFWs by making sure that government will be there during their hour of need. Towards this end, let us continue to mobilize the 2.8 billion peso Action Fund and provide protection for distressed OFWs to attain justice and be safe from harm during global crises and emergencies. Let us also likewise provide forms of assistance to OFWs requiring welfare, repatriation, and reintegration services. Second, let us strengthen our efforts on labor diplomacy at the bilateral and multilateral levels and realize our shared responsibility with host countries to ensure safe and ethical recruitment processes and just and humane conditions for our OFW. Third, let us empower our OFWs as our partners in nation building. Hence, I have directed the DMW, the DOLE, and all other government agencies to strengthen program coordination and development for the reintegration of returning OFWs. Para naman sa mga contract of service at job order personnel ng pamahalaan, marahil narinig na ninyo pero uulitin ko po, tayo ay nagdesisyon na ipagpatuloy ang inyong serbisyo hanggang sa 2025. Pag-aaralan natin mabuti ang angkop na struktura sa pamahalaan. Gagawa tayo ng mga mainam na programa upang matulungan kayong makamtan ang civil service eligibility at maging permanenteng kawani ng pamahalaan. Patuloy din na kumikilos ang gobyerno upang maibsan ang epekto ng dulot ng pagtaas ng presyo ng mga bilihin at ang ating nararanasan ngayon na El Nino. Hindi po tayo nagkukulang sa pagbabantay ng presyo ng bilihin at sinisiguro natin na may sapat na supply upang maiwasan ang pagtaas ng presyo ng ating mga produkto. Dahil sa matinding init, tumataas ang konsumo ng kuryente na nakakadagdag sa pag-akyat ng presyo. Kahapon lamang ay kumilos na ang Energy Regulatory Commission o ERC upang pansamantalang isuspindi ang operasyon ng tinatawag na Wholesale Electricity Spot Market o WESM kapag may diniklarang red alert ang system operator o NGCP. Ito ay naglalayon na pigilan ang pagtaas ng presyo ng kuryente sa gitna ng kalamidad na dulot ng El Nino. Sa mga susunod na araw, ay magpapaabot tayo ng tulong pinansyal sa mga lubhang naapektuhan ng El Nino sa buong bansa. Yaong mga nasiraan, mga pananim at kabuhayan dahil sa tagtuyot. Ito ay dagdag lamang sa mga programang pinapatupad ng Department of Agriculture, ang DOLE, ang DSWD. Uunahin po natin ang mga kapatid natin sa Mindanao na naapektuhan ng tagtuyot. Ngayong taon ay pinalawig natin ang benepisyo sa ilalim ng PhilHealth. Itinaas ng PhilHealth ng 30% ang mga case rates na kanilang mga benefit packages. Itinaas din ito ang Z-benefit package para sa breast cancer mula 100,000 pesos hanggang sa lagpas 1 milyong piso. Pinalalawig din ng PhilHealth ang konsulta package upang madagdagan ng mga diagnostic test. Nitong 2023, naitala natin ang Pag-ibig Fund, ang pinakamalaking pautang para sa pabahay na nagkakahalaga ng higit 126 na bilyong piso. Bahagi nito ang Affordable Housing Loan Program ng Pag-ibig Fund para sa ating mga manggagawa. So as we know these accomplishments that we have made together, I am equally determined to push forward to accomplish even more for our workers. This year's Labor Day will also mark another milestone towards the realization of the long-envisioned and awaited Workers' Rehabilitation Center. This 50-hectare property of the Employees' Compensation Commission in Tanay will serve as a sanctuary and a place of rehabilitation for our workers and soldiers who suffer from work-related injuries. The building of this facility is a just and fitting honor to those who have sacrificed much for the progress of the nation. Today, we also recognize exemplary workers who have exhibited outstanding performance and have given significant contribution in their fields. In partnership with the Rotary Club of Manila and the People Management Association of the Philippines, the Department of Labor and Employment led the announcement of the winners of the Outstanding Workers of the Republic or the Tower Awards. Congratulations, palakpakan po natin ang ating mga awardee. Allow me to extend my sincerest congratulations to the awardees and their families. Your hard work and contribution to our labor force and nation building inspires us all to double our efforts to realize our collective goals. So as we honor our workers today, activities in key areas have also been lined up to bring assistance to thousands of beneficiaries nationwide. As I speak, the Tupad cash assistance and livelihood benefits are being distributed to hundreds of thousands of workers, while Kadiwa centers will continue to cater to farmers, workers' associations, and consumers alike to buy and sell basic goods at lower prices. Sa ating masugid na pagpapatupad ng Philippine Development Plan, may aahon natin ang Pilipino mula sa kahirapan at may aangat ang antas ng kanilang pamumuhay. As President, I call on the regional tripartite wage and productivity boards to initiate a timely review of the minimum wage rates in their respective regions with due consideration to the impact of inflation, amongst others, within 60 days prior to the anniversary of their latest wage order. I call on the National Wages and Productivity Commission to review its rules to ensure that the boards are able to maintain a regular and predictable schedule of wage review, issuance, and effectivity to reduce uncertainty and enhance fairness for all stakeholders. I call on Congress to pass laws that will support the attainment of our jobs creation agenda, including the Enterprise-Based Education and Training Program Law, the Revised Apprenticeship Program Act, and the Create More Law, or the Law on Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises to maximize opportunities for reinvigorating the economy. Sa lahat ng mga manggagawang Pilipino, muli ako'y nagpapasalamat sa inyo. Kayo, ang puso at kaluluwa ng ating lakas paggawa, ang nagsusulong ng ating tagumpay at ang dahilan kung bakit patuloy tayong nangangarap para sa isang mas maliwanag na bukas. Kayo ang muka ng bagong Pilipinas. Magagaling, masisipag at punong-puno ng dedikasyon, kaya't nararapat lamang na bigyan ng dangal, respeto at paghahanga. Masa po kayo na ang mga manggagawang Pilipino sa loob o sa labas man ng bansa ay patuloy na aalagaan ng pamahalaan. Ang kanilang mga karapatan at kapakanan ay tiyak at tunay na tinututukan ng kinauukulan. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Isang makabuluhang paggunita sa araw ng paggawa. Mabuhay ang bawat manggagawang Pilipino. Maraming salamat po.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
As the country pays tribute to the toil and sacrifices of workers on Labor Day, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. vowed to continue supporting the working class in their pursuit of improved working conditions and better life quality. Aside from leading the 122nd Labor Day celebration, the President also released his Labor Day message to the Filipino labor force. In his message released by the Office of the President on social media, Wednesday, President Marcos paid tribute to the noble and diligent Filipino workers, highlighting their contributions to the country's development thrust. The President noted that the government continues to support the working class and uphold the principles of fairness, dignity, and equity across all workspaces. Meanwhile, Department of National Defense or DND Secretary Gilberto Chodoro Jr. said the agency joins the nation in recognizing the valuable role of all Filipino workers in the country's development. Teodoro also reminded the public of the importance of supporting peace and security efforts.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Tuesday convened with the Regional Development Council or RDC chairpersons to discuss the proposed amendments on Executive Order or EO number 325 of 1996 and the RDC Priority Programs and Projects or PAPs in a meeting at the State Dining Room in Malacañang Palace. National Economic and Development Authority or NEDA Undersecretary Carlos Bernardo Abad Santos presented the proposed amendments to EO number 325 of 1996, which aims to enhance the influence of local government units or LGUs in local investments and bolster the RDC's collaboration with the national government. These amendments include updates on membership, additional RDC functions, improved regional investment programming and budgeting, and presidential appointments for the RDC chairperson and co-chairperson, among other significant improvements. Regarding the RDC's priority programs and projects or PAPs, the regional chairpersons discussed their project proposals for their respective areas, aiming to obtain the president's endorsement and the support of all relevant agencies to incorporate RDC's initiatives into the fiscal year 2025 or FY 2026 budget. In response, the President affirmed that several proposed projects have already been consolidated by the concerned departments. These include road improvements, agricultural development, infrastructure, transportation enhancements, hospital construction, and connectivity, among others. Furthermore, President Marcos underscored the significance of collaboration between NEDA and RDC in effectively overseeing top priority projects, as it is a crucial requirement.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Tuesday ordered the Department of Trade and Industry or DTI to capacitate micro, small, and medium enterprises or MSME by introducing them to artificial intelligence or AI to help them navigate economic uncertainties and comply with the changing technological demands. President Marcos issued the directive during a sectoral meeting at the Malacañang Palace. According to the Philippine Presidential Communications Office or PCO, the President said the DTI does not need to discuss in detail the intricacies of AI systems to MSMEs. only its practical applications and importance to their business operations. The chief executive added that the government's efforts to introduce MSMEs to AI systems would help ensure the ease of doing business. In 2022, MSMEs comprised 99.59% of total establishments in the Philippines, contributing 65.10% to total employment, highlighting their huge impacts on jobs and livelihood in the country.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. directed the Department of Energy, or DOE, and other relevant government agencies to expedite the implementation of action plans and strategies to develop the electric vehicle, or EV, industry. The President issued a directive in a sectoral meeting at Malacañang on Tuesday. DOE Undersecretary Felix William Fuentebella said President Marcos wants the government to focus on the integration of the e-vehicles into the public transportation sector to accelerate the shift from the traditional motor vehicle models to EVs. As of 2023, out of the over 14.3 million registered vehicles, only 0.001%, or some 7,000, are e-vehicles. Fontebelli said the government, through the Comprehensive Roadmap for Electric Vehicle Industry, or CREVI, anchored on Republic Act 11697, or the EV Industry Development Act, is looking to improve this figure and have EVs make up at least 50% of vehicles in the country's roads by 2040. In line with this, President Marcos ordered the acquisition of e-vehicles by commercial fleets like government or private company cars and public transportation fleets, and to consolidate possible financial schemes for the purchase of EV fleets. The President is also looking to strengthen local manufacturing of EVs and supporting battery charging mechanisms through collaborations with the private sector. Fuentebella said among the advantages of EVs include the lower maintenance and operation costs and cleaner gas emissions. To encourage the public to embrace the shift to EVs, he said the government is implementing incentives such as the reduction or suspension of import tariffs, priority registration at the Land Transportation Office, priority processing of franchise to operate at the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, exemption from the number coding schemes, and the identification of green lanes or EV lanes. He said the government is also developing a community-driven navigation app for EV users to make it more enticing, especially to the younger generation.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine Department of Migrant Workers, or DMW, Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak will visit the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, or KSA, this May to discuss the unpaid wages and benefits of about 10,000 displaced overseas Filipino workers, or OFWs. In a news release on Tuesday, Kakdak said a visit also aims to further strengthen bilateral relations between the two countries. Kakdak said that among the bilateral issues that he will take up with KSA officials are the strengthening of institutional mechanisms that would assure fair, ethical, and safe recruitment and employment of OFWs. He will also tackle Saudi Arabia's request for more Filipino workers to help in its Vision 2030 development program, which aims to increase the Middle Eastern countries' diversification economically, socially, and culturally. Over 10,000 OFWs as well as thousands of other foreign workers in Saudi Arabia lost their jobs between 2015 and 2016 after their companies declared bankruptcy. The issue of unpaid wages started to move in November 2022, or after almost a decade, when Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, told Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. during a meeting that the Saudi government was ready to take on the financial settlement of the claims. During the meeting, the Crown Prince informed President Marcos that his government was setting aside a Saudi Arabian Riyal 2 billion fund for this purpose. In the third quarter of 2023, the DMW submitted to Saudi authorities a list of 10,554 displaced Saudi OFW claimants with verified ikamas or residence permits. In November and December 2023, some 1,500 Saudi claimants started receiving their claims checks from the Saudi Al-Linma Bank, representing the amounts due to them from their bankrupt companies. The DMW then entered into a memorandum of agreement with the Land Bank of the Philippines, or Land Bank, and the Overseas Filipino Bank, or OF Bank, to expedite the processing and encashment of claim checks to affected OFWs and their surviving heirs. Kakdak expressed hope that the next tranche of claims check distributing will occur during the second quarter of 2024. Kakdak was appointed as ad interim DMW Secretary by President Marcos on April 24 after serving as officer in charge of the DMW following the passing of former Secretary Susan Toots Ople in August last year.
Dateline Malacañang.
The National Task Force for the West Philippine Sea, or NTF-WPS, on Tuesday condemned the latest incident of Chinese harassment which involved China Coast Guard, or CCG, ships water cannoning a Philippine vessel on their way to provide humanitarian assistance to Filipino fishermen in Panatag Shoal, also known as Bajo de Masinloc and Scarborough Shoal. The task force said these Filipino ships are the PCG BRP Bagakay, or MMRV-4410, and BFAR's BRP Bangkao MMOV-3004. The incident also demonstrated China's willingness to obstruct a Philippine humanitarian mission. These illegal actions were witnessed by members of the local and foreign press who are routinely invited to embed in these regular BFAR humanitarian and assistance missions for fisherfolk throughout the WPS and other maritime areas. At this time, both PCG and BFAR vessels have regrouped approximately 20 nautical miles from Panatag Shoal. Crew members of the two ships are now conducting damage assessments and are reorganizing following the severe water cannoning by CCG vessels. Meanwhile, the BRP Bangkao sustained damage to heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems, electrical, navigation, and radio systems, and superficial hull damage. The BFAR ship was subjected to at least 8 instances of targeted high-pressure water cannoning from Chinese vessels and was rammed a total of 3 times by both CCG and CMM craft. It also said the Philippines will continue to act peacefully and responsibly, consistent with the rules-based international law based on United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, and the valid and binding 2016 arbitral award. Peace and stability in the region cannot be achieved if countries, big or small, do not exercise due regard for the well-established and legally settled rights of others.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Department of Education, or DepEd, said Tuesday it submitted a more aggressive option to Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. following calls for a swift shift to the old academic calendar. The move came amid mounting calls for the department to bring back the April-May school break as scorching heat takes a toll on learners and teachers, prompting the suspension of in-person classes and the shift to alternative delivery modes, or ADMs. Deputy Assistant Secretary Francis Bringas, during a Senate Committee on Basic Education hearing, said the department has already submitted a letter to the Office of the President presenting other options, including a more aggressive alternative of ending the school year 2024 to 2025 in March 2025. Bringas said these options would mean a shorter school year and squeeze the brakes, which might affect the rest period for learners and teachers. In terms of number of days, he said a DepEd may need to resort to ADMs or Saturday classes. Under this option, the actual in-person classes would only be 165 days, less than the minimum required 180 days for each school year. Besides this, it would also compromise more days for proportional vacation pay, or PVP, for public school teachers. The DepEd earlier maintained its stance on a gradual reversion to the old school calendar, considering the effects of sudden shifts to learners and teachers. In February, it ordered a series of adjustments, including the scheduled end of the school year, 2023 to 2024, on May 31, intending to implement the school break from June 1 to July 26, with the succeeding school year set from July 29, 2024 to May 16, 2025, according to Department Order 3, Series of 2024. Bringas, meanwhile, raised current challenges of schools in terms of arbitrariness when identifying the radius or scope of heat index forecast from the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration, or PAGASA. Local government units and school heads currently implemented ADMs based on heat index forecasts and other natural calamities. Bringas also requested a comprehensive guide to ensure appropriate actions for teachers and learners. Bringas meanwhile lauded school heads and LGUs for implementing flexible learning setups alongside balancing learning recovery. To date, he added some schools avoid peak hot temperatures from 10 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon by moving in-person shifts to 6 in the morning to 9 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon to 6 in the afternoon. Based on the DepEd's trend of suspension of face-to-face classes, the peak record happened on April 19, with 9,421 schools implementing ADM, affecting about 7 million learners nationwide. From April 8 to 26, the most used ADM was blended learning, equivalent to 59.4%, followed by modular at 38% and online at 2.6%.
Dateline Malacañang.
Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte has approved the more streamlined and classroom-based work, as well as specific ancillary tasks for all public school teachers nationwide. Duterte allowed the rationalization of public school teachers' workload as a follow-up policy on DepEd Order No. 2, Series 2024, an earlier order providing for the removal of their administrative task. The DO stated it intends to promote teachers' welfare, help teachers enhancing learning processes, and improve learning outcomes, among others. Under DO5, teachers shall render 8 hours of service per day, of which 6 hours shall be devoted to actual classroom teaching. Public school teachers shall also use the remaining 2 hours for their ancillary tasks, which may be done within or outside the school premises. In terms of specific ancillary tasks, the DO limits its coverage to curriculum planning, curriculum delivery and pedagogy, assessment of learners' progress, and homeroom guidance and management. The DO5 meanwhile assured overtime pay for teachers in excess of the prescribed 6 hours, provided it will not exceed 2 hours per day. Teachers in schools with teacher shortages and those relieving for other teachers affecting their vacant periods are eligible for the overload pay. If there are insufficient funds, however, the overload pay shall be converted to earn vacation service credits or leave credits.
Dateline Malacañang.
Finally, for Dateline Malacañang, the Philippine Department of Environment and Natural Resources, Mines and Geosciences Bureau, or DENR-MGB, has launched its Plastikalikasan program to address plastic waste in mining sites, including its neighboring communities. In a news release on Tuesday, the DENR said Plastikalikasan is a nationwide long-term program on plastic waste management in mining areas. DENR Secretary Maria Antonia Yulo Loizaga said, Plastikalikasan, which is done with the help of stakeholders, will serve as a platform for mining and mineral processing companies to collect, recycle, reuse, and dispose of plastic waste. The program will be integrated into a company's annual implementation of the Environmental Protection and Enhancement Program, or EPEP, and ISO 14001:2015, allocated with appropriate and sufficient budget. The Plastikalikasan program launch coincided with the Earth Day 2024 celebration, wherein 15 MGB regional offices spearheaded community cleanup drives with over 7,000 participants from mining contractors and permit holders, as well as volunteers from communities, local government, and non-government organizations. An initial report of the cleanup drive showed around 47,000 kilograms of plastic. and other solid waste were collected across several mining sites and its host and neighboring communities. Meanwhile, Loizaga expressed delight with its partners' active participation from the mineral industry, local communities, and other stakeholders to restore, protect, and sustain the environment. She also reminded them of their equal responsibility in ensuring that their mining operations adhere to the highest standard of environmental protection and conservation. Loizaga said the MGB will officially incorporate plastic kalikasan in the EPEP for operationalization by 2025. Loizaga said an incentive program mechanism will be implemented under plastic kalikasan to motivate communities to actively participate in the reduction, recycling, or upcycling of plastic waste. Details of the mechanism, including the types of incentives and the criteria for eligibility, will be developed by MGB. The DENR MGB said it will also help facilitate the forging of partnerships between mining companies and non-government and recycling organizations under the program. MGB data shows that currently there are 59 operating metallic mines, 61 operating non-metallic mines, and 8 mineral processing plants in the country.
Dateline Malacañang.
And that is all for today's Dateline Malacañang for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. This has been Bea Gaza.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.